From a very young age, Pokemon told me that I've got to catch them all. And this was kind of used as the main, marketing sting for most of Pokemon, especially during the earlier generations, at least over in the West. Like, I realized that over in Japan, it's not really been a motto of the game or anything, but guess what? Since I was a child, I've been told that I've got to catch them all. And that's kind of stuck with me as a Pokemon fan. I've always wanted to at least attempt to catch them all, and over the last couple of years I've made a much more concerted effort, as you may be able to tell from my full Pokédex here, to go ahead and make sure that I do in fact catch them all. It just kind of means that even from Generation 1, we've had a situation where you've either had to buy 2 copies of the game, or at least have a friend with a copy of the game and another Game Boy to trade with you. So yeah, it's never exactly been the easiest thing in the world to complete the Pokédex. And for some reason I'm catching a Psyduck that I already have, because I've got a full Pokédex on this game. But hey ho. Just in case, people didn't know what catching a Pokemon looked like, I guess. Now, it's definitely gotten a lot harder over the years to make sure that you are completing the Pokédex. But yeah, there was, a point during Generation 3 where they released the Game Boy Advance and you had no way of transferring your Pokemon from Generation 1 and 2, or the ones you stored on Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, over to your new games. And then they kind of slowly helped over time by bringing out like Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, where you could transfer from there, and then the Fire Red and Leaf Green games. But this is by no means a problem that is new to the Pokemon franchise. But nowadays, it's way harder to do, and it's pretty much just like an insurmountable task at this point. And, because I'm me and I'm into Pokemon a lot, I obviously made the challenge a lot harder for myself, because of course I did. So yeah, as you see my Pokemon slowly load in on the screens here, you can see that what I'm compiling between both Pokemon Home and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is what hardcore fans like to call a living dex. So for those who don't know what a living dex is, it's essentially just getting every single form of every single Pokemon at the same time to, in theory, make your life easier in the long run as a Pokemon fan. Now, at the moment, we do not have compatibility much with Pokemon Home with Scarlet and Violet. So when I wanted to get the Shiny Charm, the theory of having a complete living dex actually doesn't really help. And basically, to get the Shiny Charm, you have to catch all 400 Pokemon in a Pokédex, and I did exactly that without help of Pokemon Home. The theory is that I could, take all my Pokemon that I've got from Pokemon Home, transfer them all to the newest game, and therefore I've completed the Pokédex instantly, apart from any new Pokemon added to that specific title. So yeah, I could have made my life a lot easier if I'd waited, but I wanted the Shiny Charm, and actually haven't got round to shiny hunting anyway in Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, so joke's on me, I guess. But yeah, it does kind of make your life a lot easier trying to do this, even though it's very time consuming while you are doing so. So you can see that for the most part, I've got most of them all, organized in this game. For example, I'm missing like Pinion here, but I have caught all of the Pokemon, and some of them are just like in other random boxes that aren't properly organized, or in parties, etc, etc. And as I mentioned, I haven't been into Scarlet and Violet collecting and shiny hunting as much as I thought, so I have definitely laxed a bit on organizing my entire Pokemon collection. But basically my plan is to get into it properly when Pokemon Home updates properly and adds full support for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I've now just booted up my Pokemon Home, and while you can see that there's like lots of boxes that aren't necessarily organized, I do have a few here which are, just like my shiny Pokemon and stuff like that. But if you have a look from my box 1, where it is actually organized, I have 32 boxes full of Pokemon, and I'm waiting to transfer the Gen 9 Pokemon over. And yeah, I've done a pretty decent job of making sure that I've gotten think I've got 902 Pokemon, unique Pokemon stored on here. And they are all, you know, nicely categorized. And I've made sure that I've added like Galarian versions and Alolan versions. I've also got some of the extra forms, but that's more just for fun. For example, having all of the different Vivian wing patterns. But again, those extra bits are just for me. But in terms of having the regional variants and stuff, that's something that I definitely do want to keep a catalogue of. I say that I've got 902 Pokemon registered on here, I believe, and that is nearly all of them. I think I'm running a total of like 902 out of about 905 that you can get on here. So I'm very close to completing the entire thing. The issue is, adding on top the Pokemon that are new to Generation 9 is that you need 1,000 plus Pokemon to complete this living dex, or just to complete the collection in general. But Scarlet and Violet only has 400 Pokemon in them, and there's going to be a few more added during the future updates for Pokemon Home. But yeah, the actual, you know, Paldean Pokédex only has 400 Pokemon to catch. And I'm not here to talk about the Dexit controversy here. That's just something that I don't want to get involved with discussion-wise. But no games give you every single Pokemon, and they haven't done since Generation 7 that totaled up to 809 Pokemon. So even if you are lucky enough to have had a full collection of Pokemon up until that point, that still leaves you with around 200 Pokemon to catch new to the Switch. Provided that, of course, you're able to transfer them from your 3DS into Pokemon Bank, into Pokemon Home. And, you know, for a lot of people, that isn't necessarily something that you can do, whether you have the 3DS or whether you have the old games. It's just not necessarily something that everybody has access to. You know, those games are years and years old now, and everyone shouldn't be expected to keep those games in order to be able to collect all of the Pokemon. I've probably had a lot of help here. I've transferred all of my Pokemon up from like Pokemon X, Omega Ruby, Sun and Moon, Ultra Moon, all from my 3DS, so I had a lot of Pokemon helping me out from there, a lot of the more awkward ones to get, etc, etc, but I wasn't focused on getting a living dex back in the day, so there were still some really awkward, stubborn Pokemon for me to find. So yeah, if you want to do this just from the Switch, this task is, I think, currently impossible if you were starting now. And I think it's almost impossible, or potentially is impossible, if you only have a Switch available. There is one Pokemon that I thought I had in my collection that I had to go back onto my 3DS for and transfer up, and that Pokemon is Furfrou. So yeah, this Pokemon Furfrou is from Generation 6. You can get it in Pokemon X and Y. You can then also catch it in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and then Pokemon Go. So that means every single game on the Switch has no access to Furfrou. Not one, and I'm sure there's probably a couple of other examples. It's very minor, small amount of Pokemon that fall under this category. But the fact that there's any Pokemon that fall under a category of completely impossible to get on just a Switch, it's kind of ridiculous. And yes, as I mentioned, there is Pokemon Go, which obviously it's like a free app on mobile phones. Most phones will run it. The problem is with Pokemon Go, you rely entirely on RNG. There is a couple of events that make Furfrou, for example, a more common Pokemon, and I think at one point there was a quest in which you could get it that might not be accessible anymore. But like, the fact that you have to rely on random luck on a mobile app to catch a Pokemon, to then transfer to Pokemon Home, to then add to your collection, even though you can go and buy, what, Let's Go, Sword and Shield, the Diamond and Pearl remakes, Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet. I think that's all of the games that you can transfer to and from over on the Switch. And the fact that there are Pokemon that you can buy 5+ games for and not be able to catch, it's just ridiculous. Like, just sort that shit out, Game Freak. Really. You know, I'm a bit disappointed that not every single Pokemon is in every single game. There's a lot of Pokemon that are on my Pokemon Home that I currently can't send over for competitive battling or anything like that, or I've had their moveset changed or disabled because you know, they've done really weird things with bringing Pokemon forward through generations on the Switch. The most disappointing thing, though, is just the fact that there are Pokemon that are completely unavailable on the Switch. If you're not going to have all 1,000+ Pokemon in one game, at least maybe split it in half and have a full generation have access to all Pokemon over a couple of titles. And then there's something which obviously Pokemon has been doing since day one, since Generation 1, and that is event-specific mythical Pokemon. And, you know, obviously we can scroll back through here, and you can see that I've got a lot of them along the way over time. For example, this, you know, lovely Japanese Mew. Some of them I've literally, like, you know, traded online for other rare Pokemon I had copies of. For example, I had a few Deoxys from replaying Omega Ruby. But the fact that, like, you know, there are Pokemon, and there are numerous Pokemon, we can start going through them here from, like, every generation as Pokemon that are completely unavailable unless you've gone to specific events. And what, like, yeah, okay, this is a classic of Pokemon. But that now means, as I mentioned earlier, if you are starting out building a collection on the Switch, you just have to wait and hope that certain Pokemon turn up in events. I, on my 3DS, did have a Hooper. I don't know where that Hooper has gone. Somehow it's disappeared into the void. But now that means I just don't have a Hooper. And Googling it, I do not have a way to get a Hooper. Same with the Zarude event and the Volcanion event. I missed out on both of those. And that straight up means that I do not have access to them, and that there's just a Torracat there in Gen 4 that I'll have to sort out. That's a bit frustrating. But it's all organised. But yeah, for the most part, you know, there are Pokemon that I've got, and there's a lot of difficult Pokemon to collect. But I just missed a couple of events, and now I just have to wait and hope that I can complete my collection fully. It's not even like they don't give you a bonus. There's a Pokeball form Magina that is exclusive to Pokemon Home, and guess how you collect it? It's by having every single Pokemon stored in Pokemon Home. So they literally have an exclusive form to Pokemon Home for collecting them all. And they don't give me the ability to actively collect them all at the moment. I will have to, I guess, organise this more than I thought. I'm stressed out now. The idea of doing this all again. But again, I've had to go into Pokemon Home and just randomly trade Pokemon for other event Pokemon that I'm missing, or a Sunkern that was really hard to get at the time. And yeah, I just would not recommend trying to complete the Pokédex anymore. Not worth your time. Do not catch them all. Please don't fall into this trap of frustration that I have done. Anyway, thank you for watching.
Once again, thank you to our patrons.
You sound angry.
Because I'm just saying it properly this time. Patrons. I don't want to give away I'm a robot, okay? I mean, cut that out. Yeah, as you can see, scrolling on the screen are our supporters.
We're definitely going to get better at this.
But our VIPs get a special shout out in the form of top movies.
They do. We're all the way now to movie 64, which is the classic Witness for Rael E. Waters.
It's Walters.
What Walters? Rael. I can read.
Number 65 is Anders Lalians.
Excellent. Number 66 is Maxwell Steesman into the Maxwell Steesverse.
Number 67, we have Coffee Soap Beauty.
Oh, God, this title's so long.
Oh my god.
Number 68, Dr. Strangelove, or How We Learned to Stop Worrying and Love, RR7567.
At number 69,
Nice.
The Dark Sean Watson Rises.
At number 70, Old Coloran Boy.
At number 71, we have Scopa Renton Bastards.
You can just say Glorious Bastards. You don't need to pronounce the E.
Bastards!
Bastards. 72. Amma Taylor Brandwood. Yes.
At number 73, we have My Shoe Set 69 It's the best I can do with Coco.
At 74. Ian Lear's story.
Oh, what? How
Nisha has Joker.
At number 75, we have Robert Huttoner. I don't know.
At 76, Brave James Martin.
Number 77, we have Das Tam McKee.
At number 78, we have Avengers. End Sam TDS. The entire film is the Avengers going after Sam TDS.
Number 79, we have Princess Captain Scotland.
So many titles. Princess Captain. At number 80, Once Upon an Impy in America.
At number 81, we have Good Trang Pham Hunting.
At number 82, we have Your Alicia. Full stop.
At number 83, we have Grimbacore Idiots.
And finally, at number 84, Singing in the Zeren King. How do you say that?
Zeren?
Zeren King. Correct me in the comments.
We're just sat here processing what we've just done.
Yes, this is the fourth one of these we've done now for every one of our I want to say patrons now. But yeah, we enjoy doing these. Big thank you. Every single time we're going to try and do something different. So if you enjoy listening to these and you want your name in one, then join the Patreon at the VIP tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.